I got blood on my hands right now, and I'm stumbling through the dark in the dawn. I have found new ways.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am Admiral Funko, and on today's video you're gonna see how I made my Captain Crunch statuette pulled from the depths of the Titanic, patinaed, rusted Captain Crunch statue thing. I still haven't had an idea of a name for it, honestly. I don't know why I can't think of a name for it. But you're gonna see the process through time-lapse today. And if you guys want me to do an in-depth DIY where I give you a step-by-step process on how I do the glitter, how I do the glitter pops, how I do pops like this, how I do my DIY projects, my next DIY project that I do, I will do step-by-step. It will be a longer video, but my videos usually range anywhere from 10 to 45 minutes anyway, so whatever. This is what happens when you go to Michael's and you don't have a budget and you just buy everything that you think is gonna work for this. I had an intention of making it a DIY kind of steampunk pirate thing with Captain Crunch, and I was just like, it didn't work out in the end. Honestly, you see the end piece at the end, it doesn't work out in the end. But when you're designing something or thinking about doing arts and crafts and doing stuff like this, always try to lay things out, see how they work, put things on top of each other before you establish the glue. Now, when I mean the glue, I use hot glue for everything. I think hot glue is very forgiving. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve and how permanent you want it to be. Now, if you want it to be semi-permanent, the E6000 glue, semi-permanent. That thing's not going anywhere. And I know that a little bit down the road in this video, Captain Crunch, I might actually have to redo because he's not sticking very well. You'll see me struggle with a hot glue gun in him later. But I might have to go back like tomorrow and actually put some E6000 down to make Captain Crunch stay on the stand. But hot glue is very forgiving, and if you mess up with hot glue, you can at least remove it and then, of course, reapply it. Now, when you're creating any type of diorama statue or just trying to be creative, make sure you lay it out before you glue it out, honestly, because sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't work. That's why I'm a fan of hot glue. I'll always advocate for hot glue. And you'll see me in this entire video try to add things to make it look steampunkish, but I should have researched steampunk pirate first, but I didn't. I was just like, oh, steampunk, gears, because I was watching Oh Hey It's Fitz play Borderlands, and that's kind of like a steampunky kind of apocalyptic dystopian kind of universe. So I was really trying. And then of course a lot of these objects I got in Michael's little the Pixie Fairy area where you can make dioramas, where you can make pixie things or fairy gardens and stuff like that. There's an aisle that has just all these little things in it. And then during Halloween time there was there's a lot of stuff in the scrapbooking aisle to make like little tiny weird objects for the eccentric at heart like me that just like the weird stuff. People that like skulls, and I have a collection of skulls. I mean, people who like the strange and unusual, because myself, I am strange and unusual. Quote the movie, please. I almost didn't paint this guy. I thought he looked cool without paint. I thought it looked really cool, but he gets a good dosing of paint. Now, when I do any type of project that requires me to repaint it, and I have an idea of what the project is going to look like, I try to repaint it in white. I see a lot of people who do DIYs on YouTube, and they always start with a white base because you got to cover up all that color. It's just going to be easier if you paint it all white. You're going to need a lot of coats of white. I didn't use a lot of paint. I think I used half a bottle. I'm gonna be, that's probably more of an exaggeration because I was really liberal with the white paint. All the other paints I used very spare amounts on because I know people are gonna look at this and the dollar signs are gonna be rolling in their head. They're gonna be like, oh my god, you spent so much money. Yes, I spent a lot of money at Michael's that day. However, this paint is going to be used for multiple projects, and a lot of this stuff is going to be used for multiple projects. So it worked out in my head, I think. Or at least that's how I'm justifying it. And you will see me use my heat gun so much. I bought that heat gun years ago and figured that I should probably start using it for once. So I think I did 3, maybe 4 coats of white in some areas to really get that color covered up, because that color could shine through in my next layer, or it could potentially create a problem. And one error that I did not do when I was doing this was I didn't hold it upside down. I didn't paint, well, I painted the bottom much later. I painted the bottom black much later, but not in this video. But like turn him upside down, because underneath his hat was blue when I was painting him copper, and it was just a little stressful getting the copper, because I think I had to do like a lot more painting over the blue, because the blue is a more dominant color, because it is a primary color. So you see me having issues there with Captain Crunch as I'm trying to paint it copper. I eventually just take him off there and paint the whole base copper. Now after the white was done drying, I went through and painted the whole thing copper. And I know, why didn't you just paint the whole thing copper to begin with and do multiple layers of copper? Well, 1, at the time I had no idea what I was going to do with the thing. And 2, it seemed like a good idea at the time. But it helped work out some of the bugs and develop like a style that I was trying to go for. And then of course the white really showed where I hadn't painted and where I needed to paint, where the other colors might have just blended out or shown through and not looked as bad. But I really wanted this, I think when I was painting Captain Crunch, I really wanted this to look like something that had been pulled out of the ocean. It was a piece of copper, a piece of gold or something, but I really wanted to achieve like a really sea salt covered item, like copper, like brass, that was just covered in sea salt. I know what it looks like, because in the Navy, when you work around weapons and your guns are in, you know, heavy seas, heavy weather, and they get caked in sea salt, it's gross. And I wanted it to look that way, and you'll see when I start applying other colors. So what I did was I stippled gold on, and I kind of layered it sparingly, and then I stippled the red metallic copper on. So there's a red metallic, and then I used metallic gold to kind of give it that shine, because I wanted everything to be matte, but then when I wanted that shine to come through, because when you polish something that's been on the ocean, it doesn't always shine. Like, it's really hard to get some of it off. Some of it gets dulled real easily. So I really wanted to have a shiny, but like I really wanted this to look aged and abused by the ocean and by sea salt and by however, you know, whatever happens in the process, you know, how water really just messes things up. And then I used the seafoam green to get that sea salt effect, and I used a different color of green to kind of really give it a more like, ugh, you know. And here's the part where I'm really having issues with Captain Crunch and the hot glue. You'll see me go through it a ton. So, and I end up, see, there it is. Sorry, I've watched this video like 15 times, and I'm trying to time it right, but it never gets timed right. So I go through the same process with Captain Crunch, and yeah, I'm fine with him. He just does not want to stay on those buttons. And I end up trying to get him to stay as much as possible, but I do the same effect to him as I did on the base. And whenever you see me go in with a paintbrush, yeah, I took the backs of those off. I forgot I did that. Yeah. It was hard getting in between the gears. It worked on the front, but it didn't work on the back at all. And when I'm going in with a paintbrush, I'm really trying to get finite details. Like certain areas, like certain edges should have been metallic, and certain edges should have been rough, you know, like the really pointy edges should have been more of a smooth because they're pointed. You know, I was really like trying to think through the whole entire process this entire time on how the process of patinaed items worked, especially when it came to brass or copper. And, you know, I was trying to make it look like someone had probably tried to polish it up and it didn't work. But I just, you know, I had so much fun making this. I really did. And I want to make another one. And I want to do one with a more detailed tutorial of what I'm doing. And I would like to know if you guys would like to see a more detailed tutorial. And one process of stippling that I did was I would stipple paint on and then take a clean sponge and try to get the paint off. It was a really cool effect that when you're trying to take the paint off and then take that paint that had other, it's a really cool effect. And I definitely need to do a in-depth DIY, and I really want to know your guys' feedback on if you want to see that. But I ended up loving this thing at the end. It turned out fantastic, I think. And I actually ended up getting some other paints and painting it with some other paints as well. But that is it for today's video. I know it's a very fast time lapse, but it's just something that I had to get out there, something I had to show you. This actually took me about 6 days to complete. So if you want to see a more in-depth time lapse or a more in-depth kind of video on my next project, I will definitely be doing that, because this was a chore trying to do the voiceover, and I feel like I missed a whole bunch of information, which is gonna happen. I'm gonna miss a whole ton of information, and that's all me, guys, but I still wanted you guys to see this process, because I did do all the filming, and I wanted to get it out there for you guys to see. So, if you're new to the channel, subscribe. If you like the video, like the video. Also, comment. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys again in my next video on Friday. Bye, everybody!